Hello everyone and welcome to the Movies Summary channel. Today I would like to talk about the movie, Boxing Helena. This movie is centered around a surgeon who becomes fixated on a gorgeous woman, leading to her ruin. Warning: this video contains spoilers. Get ready with some popcorn and please drop a like. The story opens with Nick, our surgeon, reminiscing about his family. Through his memories, we learn about his mother's cruelty toward him and her promiscuous behavior, even in front of Nick. Despite these experiences, Nick grew up to be a seemingly normal guy with a job, a girlfriend who loved him, and good looks. He worked as a prestigious surgeon and was respected by his colleagues and friends. However, his troubled past with his mother still affected him, causing him to display unusual facial expressions and behaviors at times. After his mother's death, Nick inherits a beautiful house and takes up residence there. Later, he meets up with his friend Dr. Lawrence at a bar, where they chat and have a few drinks. While there, he notices a young woman from the corner of his eye and abruptly leaves. He quickly changes his clothes and goes for a jog, eventually arriving at a house where he climbs a tree to peek into a window. To his surprise, he sees the same woman from the bar getting intimate with someone else. This leaves him feeling hurt and dejected. He calls Dr. Lawrence, seeking advice on how to win the young woman back, only to discover that she spent the night with someone else. Lawrence advises him to forget about her and focus on his relationship with a woman named Anne. However, Nick rejects this idea and instead decides to write a letter to the young woman, whose name is revealed to be Helena. Nick rushes home to find his girlfriend asleep on his couch, presumably having waited up for him. He calls Helena, but when she answers, he says nothing and hangs up, causing her to feel upset and ruining their plans. Her partner, Ray, becomes angry and leaves to go to a club, while Helena calls for some red wine and vodka. The following day, Nick is on a phone call when he sees a note from Anne, explaining that she had to leave for work and didn't want to disturb him. Meanwhile, Ray invites Helena to the club, but she declines, saying she has plans to go to Mexico. This angers Ray, who leaves in a huff. Nick has guests over, including Dr. Lawrence and Dr. Harrison, and he eagerly waits for someone to arrive. Helena eventually shows up, and Nick starts following her around like a lovesick puppy. However, she doesn't seem interested and instead captivates everyone at the party by taking a dip in the fountain. Russell tries to flirt with her, and she doesn't reject him, which upsets Nick. Later, Helena leaves with Russell, leaving Nick feeling dejected. After the party, Nick listens to his voicemail and hears a message from Helena, asking him to bring her purse to the airport the next morning. The next morning, Nick goes to the airport but Helena shows up looking upset because he was so late in bringing her purse that she missed her flight. She storms off after snatching her purse, but realizes her address book is missing and decides to head back to Nick's house to get it. Nick convinces her to sit and eat in the living room where he's prepared a meal for them, and it seems like this was all planned to get her back to his place. She leaves after grabbing her address book, and Nick chases after her. She gets hit by a vehicle and ends up at the hospital where we meet Dr. Allen, who is suspicious of Nick's behavior. Nick tells him that he needed to perform on-the-spot surgery and that he had no choice but to keep her at his house. Dr. Allen agrees not to call the hospital and leaves, telling Nick not to tell anyone he was there. Nick heads back to Helena, who is crying and thinks she must be dreaming. It's revealed that Nick has been absent from work with no notice and is planning to resign as a chief surgeon so that Dr. Allen could take over and take care of Helena. The following day, Nick arrives at Helena's house with a wheelchair, but she vehemently rejects it, stating that she does not need it. A few days pass, and Lawrence visits Nick's house, but Nick doesn't answer the door as he was too engrossed in looking at Helena's photos. When Helena finally confronts him about it, she insults him, and Nick takes her outside in the rain to scream as loud as she wants. However, instead of screaming, she slaps him and calls him a failure. Nick takes her back inside and makes her some coffee, but Helena continues to berate him. Meanwhile, Ray goes to a store and gives the owner a photo of Helena, asking him to inform him if he hears or sees anything about her. Later, while Nick and Helena are having dinner, someone knocks on the door, causing Helena to scream. Nick quickly gags her mouth and wheels her away before inviting Anne in. They begin to make up, but Nick catches sight of Helena and angrily sends Anne away. Ray starts to snoop around Nick's house, but Nick notices him. Nick then orders flowers to be delivered to Helena's house with a note saying he misses her. Ray becomes confused as he had previously believed that Nick was involved in Helena's disappearance. In the next scene, Helena is seen sleeping, and the next day, it is revealed that Nick has removed her arms since she attacked him. As a result, Helena is now completely reliant on Nick to do anything for her. During a jog, Helena warns Nick that someone will eventually find out what he has done, most likely Ray, who will seek to eliminate him. However, Nick confidently responds that Helena cannot do anything without him and that it would be pointless for Ray to try to eliminate him. Nick orders some pills to be delivered to his house and then calls Dr. Lawrence to inform him that he has Helena at his place. Nick asks Lawrence to talk to Helena and instruct her to stay calm. However, Helena suddenly starts screaming, and Nick shows her that the line has been cut and that he was just testing her. Helena tells Nick that she hates him, and he is genuinely hurt by her statement. Nick imagines a scenario in which the two of them are in love with each other, with his head on her lap. Later that night, Nick brings a young woman home, and Helena watches them together, feeling jealous. Nick asks Helena how he did, but she doesn't give him a definitive answer and remains mostly quiet. However, they start talking more and seem to be getting closer, as Nick willingly caters to Helena's needs. Helena then asks Nick if he really loves her, and he tells her that he most definitely does. She asks him to kiss her, and he complies. She then requests that he order some red wine and vodka, and he does. However, the store owner who takes Nick's order notices that it sounds familiar, as it is the same thing that Helena always orders. The store owner immediately calls Ray. While Nick is touching Helena, Ray creeps up the driveway and walks into the house, where he witnesses the wild scene. Ray starts throwing Nick around, and Helena tries to tell him to calm down, saying that it is none of his business. However, Ray disagrees and continues to attack Nick. A statue is about to fall on Nick when he wakes up, revealing that the entire movie was a dream. Nick learns from Dr. Allen that Helena's surgery was a success and goes to check on her. He sees that she is still unconscious and holds her hand but leaves before she wakes up. At home, Nick continues to dream about Helena, and the movie ends.